Hello everyone, welcome back to the Amber Serpent. My name is Gulveig. And today we have a special guest. This is a little girl, also known as Princess Pretty Paws. Say hello. Hi. She's going to help us today with our Rune Reading Wednesday. Alright, so for those of you who may be new to Rune Reading Wednesday, the way that it works is we're going to set the intention that we will get the message that would serve our highest good at this time for the next 7 days, for the next week. So keep that intention in your mind. What do we need to know most that would serve our highest good for the following week? We're going to blow the intention into the runes. All right, rune number 1. We have Rhyddo. Number 2, Berkano, and rune number 3. Fehu. So, I look at this as being pretty fortuitous. Also, in your mind's eye, or perhaps in if you have the sensation that one particular rune really draws your attention more than the others, if you're drawn more to one of them than the others, then do know that that does have significance to you. So pay close attention to, when we interpret these, which part of that message may feel more pertinent to your situation, or more important to perhaps the challenges that you're facing over the next week. All right, so rune number 1, we have Rhyddo. Rhyddo is the rune of movement. In many interpretations, it represents the cart. For me, the way that I feel about Rhyddo, the way that I have interacted with it is like a big movement. So it's not just the horse and rider. It's not just two folks moving, but this is like the cart. So a lot of movement, a lot of things are moving. This also is used a lot as a talisman for protection in travel. So it's also a rune in which there is going to be a graceful movement, especially in relation to some of the other ones that we have coming up here. It's going to be a movement that is going to be pretty smooth and protected. And in relation to Rhyddo, we now have Berkano. Berkano, one of its messages is that of the birch tree, that of death and rebirth. It's from when the birch tree falls and dies. It is from there that all of these other little saplings grow out of it. It's also interesting enough that the birch is one of the first trees to reappear after a massive die-off or after a forest fire. So we have here, over the last few readings, there definitely has been kind of interwoven this kind of lethargy, or a sense of having to let go, surrender, allowing things to die off that no longer are useful to us anymore, such as beliefs or habits, or even just ways of being. And here we see that this cycle is starting to come to a close. We're coming to that end of that part of our cycle where we have learned a lot of lessons, especially since January. Astrologically, as well as our rune readings every week, have really shown us that since January there's been like a huge cycle that has taken place. And we're finally at that place where we're starting to see the remnants of winter kind of de-thawing. We had Isa come up the last, quite often. That ice is going to be de-thawing, and we are starting to see where the saplings are promising to come through. Now, although Fehu is the next one in the reading, what I'm seeing here is that in relation to where we are in this cycle with Berkano, the new growth that is going to be coming from Fehu I don't think is going to come necessarily this week. What we're going to see is we're going to start to see that closing of the death part of the cycle, the part of the cycle where we've had to let go and make space so something new can show up. Are we done? Okay, all right, bye-bye. And then what that is going to be making space for is going to be making space for new growth, prosperity. Fehu is a rune of wealth. It is associated with cattle, which back in the days of old, how many cattle you had denoted how wealthy you were. So also here, what I'm intuitively seeing too is like a herd of cattle moving. So depending on how much we let go this week, depending on how much space we're able to make, this week is going to be a really important one, because it's how we tie up the loose ends. With the cycle where we've had to let go and make space and make sacrifices for the greater good. And so how we wrap up that cycle, the decisions that we make, the challenges that we persevere, the things that we allow to die off that no longer serve us, even if at one point in time they were useful, is going to be contingent upon how much prosperity we're able to bring in. So the more space we create, the more prosperity will come to pass. So essentially, the more birch trees that we allow to die off, the more saplings there are going to be given a chance to pop up. And it's interesting because that one birch tree may have dozens of other saplings that come out of it, right? So it's going to be a good week. It's going to be a big week for a lot of us. And I'm really excited to see what is going to come up over the next couple weeks coming forward, because my thought is that there's going to be a lot of good stuff. There's going to be a lot of good stuff in store. So that concludes our Rune Reading Wednesday for the Amber Serpent. Again, thank you for joining me here. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.